Welcome to Bleach Revisited. I am Karakura Gold, your host of this series in which we will be reading every single chapter of the Bleach manga, providing critical analysis of the art as well as the narrative, personal response to these chapters, as well as discussion of how these chapters connect to the rest of the series. As usual, we'll be beginning the video with a reading of the chapter that we are currently on, which is chapter 65, Collisions. What did you say? Katakachiki, what do you mean? You heard me. Must I repeat myself? Rukia Kuchiki has been found guilty of a capital offense. 25 days from now, you will be taken to the Garden of Judgment to suffer the ultimate punishment. That is the Soul Society's final decision. This is the last time I will speak with you, Rukia. The next time I see you will be at the gallows. Bleach, Chapter 65, Collisions. Hey! Don't be sad! They could still change their minds! I'm not sad. You don't lie! You're obviously disconsolate. Hey! Eyes over here! That ruling came from Central 46. It cannot be overturned. But it's all right. I knew this was going to happen from the beginning. There's no use. Rugia. Gotcha! What? Ultimate punishment. You think I'd be upset by that? It just makes escaping more interesting. Huh? What's that face for? You seem awfully worried about me. But you should be worrying about are your eyebrows. Huh? Mr. Goofy tattooed eyebrows, man. I could care less about you and your problems. Just sit here and rot. I can't wait for your execution. Escape? Idiot. There's no escape. You're getting the ultimate punishment. The worst. Ultimate punishment. Will you really allow this to happen, Captain Kerchiki? You seem awfully calm, Captain Six. Excellent. Imperturbable, even though your sister is going to die. You're an example to us all, Captain Six. The ideal Soul Reaper. Are you joking? The only Soul Reapers who are scared of dying are you and Captain Nine. What? You? What do you two gentlest captains want with me? Well, we thought perhaps Captain Six would be sad about his sister's impending execution. Genichimaru, Captain, 3rd Company. It has nothing to do with you, brothers. Why should you be sad? The blood of a criminal only dishonors a distinguished family. Kenpachi Zaraki, Captain of the 11th Company. How surprising, a commoner who understands the ways of nobility. Not really. I've always been observant. Perhaps I could be of assistance to you. If you wish, I'll behead the criminal before the execution. I'm not sure that one with your skills could actually manage that job. Want to test me? Do you want to be tested? Sorry about that, Captain Six. Ichimaru, untie me! Let me cut him! Let me cut him! It wasn't my intention to provoke you. Well, give my regards to the little sister. Whoa! You alright, Tessai, sir? I'm hardly alright. My glasses are in critical condition. Well, at least you're in one piece, you monster. Oh well. Keep your broken glasses on. The boss has drawn his sword and it's getting interesting. You don't want to miss this! Not bad. For only having that little sword. Oh, a compliment. Oh, joy. But don't expect me to take it easy on you. Bring it on! Wait. Aren't Zanpakuto the only things that can injure Soul Reapers and Hollows? That sword came out of his cane. It can't be a Zanpakuto. Then I should be fine even if I'm cut by it. You let your guard down. You think this can't be a Zanpakuto because I'm not a Soul Reaper. So you think it won't hurt you to be cut by it, eh? How incredibly naive. Wake up. Benihime, the Red Princess. This blade is very much a Zanpakuto. People who miss Ichigo, too. Hey, get out of here. Go play your video games in your room, Kago. Shut up. Can't you see how upset I am? I can't see who the sword cuts through these tears. And that is it for chapter 65. Oh boy, I sure hope that I can remember exactly how I place all these character voices as we start to get more and more of them introduced. Um, whew, we'll talk about that maybe. I kind of landed in a cool place, I think, for Kenpachis. um, but you know, I think of exactly how I want to kind of enunciate these characters. It's less doing voices and more like where in the throat and in the mouth I kind of want to speak from, and then I just do my normal voice. I try not to put on like an accent or anything weird. I also kind of consider enunciation too. Anyway, let's get into actually discussing these chapters though, or this chapter, single chapter. Chapter 65 collisions, because we hop back to Soul Society here and we get a lot from Soul Society, which is maybe surprising, kind of interesting. So, of course, we hop back with the characters that we know most, right? Renji and Rukia. And I'm glad that we return to exactly like the Soul Reapers that we were most familiar with. I also like that if you note that Renji does have the scar on his chin from whenever he fought Ichigo. So I'm glad that that's still there. It is a minor detail that I appreciate still being present. Um, but we know Ruki is in this kind of holding cell in the 6th Division barracks, and so here Kuchiki Byakuya, he's got this ultimate kind of sentence that has been passed down, right? That she has been found guilty. Of course, she gave her powers to Ichigo. We knew this was going to happen. But that 25 days from now, she'll be taken to the Garden of Judgment and suffer the ultimate punishment. And that is Soul Society's final decision. And so we got to assume that it is execution. Whenever they talked about giving her an easier sentence, I think it's because Renji didn't know exactly what the sentence might be. But the idea is, of course, that this will be the ultimate punishment. I like here that we do get to see Renji pretty shocked. We get a different headband for Renji. Obviously, he can't have his cool, techno visor anymore. His neat goggles. So usually we're going to see him in a headband like this, but that's fine. As far as Byakuya's expressions, I think they work pretty well, and we do see him kind of looking through the bars here. Obviously, Ruki's on the other side of them. Renji's got his back turned. But even here, with Byakuya looking through the bars, it's unclear if he's looking directly at Rukia or if it's like him staring off elsewhere, even. The fact that she's not presented in his line of sight is, I think, significant. We do get the shot from Rukia looking rather downcast as Byakuya expresses that this is the last time that he'll speak with her. And he doesn't even refer to her as sister or anything. He refers to her as Rukia. And the next time will be at the gallows, which, as we know, gallows are at the site of an execution, right? At a hanging. Notably, you have a gallows there. So, the idea is, yes, she will be executed. And we have Byakuya leave kind of through the bottom here. Interestingly, we do get Renji as our chapter cover character. If I am correct, this is the first time that we've actually seen Renji. I like his crazy watermelon hair coming out of the back of this, kind of torn open, like beanie or whatever this is. Also, we get Renji in glasses. Ichigo, I think, was originally designed to have glasses. And so it's neat that Kubo kind of tries putting glasses on a lot of characters in these spaces. I wonder if every Bleach character has been drawn with glasses by Kubo at this point. Or at least all the major characters. Who knows? Anyway, it's a cool look for Renji nevertheless. I like it. And also, obviously, the idea of Renji being in a place right now where he might light up a smoke and kind of be thinking about things, it fits. Also fits the winter theme that we've been getting for a lot of these chapter covers. I like that, already by just showing us this window, we know that we're back in scene. We're back with Renji sort of trying to think of the best, and Rukia being pretty disconsolate. I did 2 readings for this because whenever I got to all the other captains, I didn't know exactly who was speaking at the time. So it's like, shit, I might as well just start from the beginning and maybe land on voices I like more. But the second time I ran through it, I somehow stumbled over disconsolate, even though I didn't on my first. It's a weird way to break that up, and it's not usually a word that people would use, but maybe is highlighting perhaps the different sort of vocabulary that they use in Soul Society. Because that was the other thing, right? Is that the idea is the culture is pretty different from the culture on Earth, right? So it's interesting to see. Maybe that would be a little bit of a highlight of that. I wish we got more of that, right, from Soul Society, kind of presenting the culture as being different. I like this shot of Rukia in the chair kind of facing away, and that we don't really get to see Rukia's expression through all of this, and we get her facing away through a lot of this, as we get these kind of her being resigned to her fate, which is something that we have gotten a lot of so far anyway. The mention of Central Room 46 gets brought up, right? The Central 46 being kind of this important kind of governing body that their decisions can't be overturned. That is significant. And we really get kind of Renji looking more thoughtful here, kind of going into a bit more of a sobered and serious expression. And then I like, of course, Rukia then reveals that she is, in fact, just playing him. She's like, haha, gotcha. And then she teases him. I love that we get this sense of their relationship where Rukia really kind of regularly teases Renji. It really gives you this sense of their kind of history together, their shared background. That she so easily kind of gives him a hard time about it, and especially about his eyebrows. And I think rightfully so. She knows exactly what sets Renji off, as that does seem to make him pretty furious. All in all, he then yells and slams the door and leaves, right? But I think the idea is that Rukia, we quickly see her returning to a sad expression. So very much, she's kind of trying to protect Renji here, perhaps, right? Where she's giving him this sort of, well, I'm just planning my escape anyway. Like it teases him and kind of has this light moment with him, perhaps to give him a little bit of hope or to sort of lighten his mood. But the reality is that she's actually feeling pretty, worn down and pretty sad in this moment, which is a sad moment, that we're kind of, as the reader, we're brought around, like maybe Rukia was just acting all this time and being serious in front of Byakuya, but now that she's here with Renji, she can be a little bit more like herself, but no, she is in fact pretending in front of Renji. So we get her putting on those faces too. That's sort of the idea of her trying to kind of protect other people and put other people at ease. But she is very much consigned to this fate. And all in all, I like a lot of these character expressions and I like a lot of the art. I do wish, here we get a little bit of shedding going outside of her line, which is like, come on, you know, uh, that rough sort of sketching there. I don't think it's sad that there are still those sorts of moments, though. And generally, things are a little cleaner across the board by this point in the manga. Anyway, I like that we continue to see Renji with that scar. Great stuff. Reminder of the battle that he had with Ichigo. But he's really reflecting upon this, and he's like, really, how could Byakuya allow this to happen? And you have to wonder how much Byakuya is handling it, and if he's really frustrated that his own sister is going to die. Here we get some continuously even more loose shading here. Really, it's sad because we get this kind of really great image of the character, this expression where you can really see that they're carrying a lot with them. They're kind of going through a lot, and then we get this really amateurish shading job that I don't even think you needed shading here against the wall anyway. But sad times. Anyway, here we get this exchange that happens between Ichimaru Gen and Saraki Kenpachi as they get introduced, and they're kind of giving Byakuya a hard time. There's a lot of weird translation stuff here, so I'll try to make the most of it. But first, Gen is speaking, and he's saying that it's surprising that Byakuya is being so capable and isn't letting this really affect him, even though his sister's going to die, and he's such a great example. So clearly Gen's giving him a kind of hard time, right? That he's stacking all this praise, surely, right? You're an example to us all, the ideal Soul Reaper, but it's really him kind of sinking his fangs in and being like, you piece of shit, your sister's gonna die. Like, you're not even disturbed at all. So it's him kind of picking at this wound for Byakuya, because if Byakuya feels anything, right, it's Gen immediately calling that out, which I think speaks towards Gen kind of navigating this pretty well and having a good handle on where Byakuya is at this point. And of course, we get this reiteration from Kenpachi, right? He's like, yeah, well, you joking? The only Soul Reapers who are scared of dying are you, which is, Ichimaru Gen himself, and then Captain 9, which we haven't gotten whoever the captain of the 9th division might be. But interesting that he says the only Soul Reapers who are scared of dying are these two captains, and not like these lower level Soul Reapers, right? Of course, he says, Byakuya kind of whips around and says, what do you two adjuntless captains want with me? Which is a kind of wild word to use. Again, I wonder if it's just in line with, like, if it's meant to kind of just be with how kind of weird Renji was saying, like disconsolate, right? That there's this idea of these kind of captains that are showing up, and they're going to all kind of speak in these weird ways. I mean, imperturbable is certainly a decision anyway in translation, but adjunctless is a strange way to form this, and I wonder if it's just because at this point they still haven't landed on lieutenant being the way that they refer to the vice captains, right? But the idea is what are you two captains with nobody to assist you want with me, right? That they don't have their assistants with them. They're just here on their own. So we finally do get a shot of two other captains that we haven't seen yet. We get Ichimaru Gen, who is the captain of the 3rd division. He seems to be kind of, he's the one that was giving giving Byakuya a bit of a hard time initially there. And we see him as this sort of jokey, sort of maybe light-hearted character as he's seated here up on the railing. And then we get, in pretty stark contrast, Zaraki Kenpachi, who is this man with his hair pulled out to these points that all end in little bells that we get tinking. He's got this big eye patch. He's got a pretty stern expression and this big scar across his face. So, pretty striking sort of countenance, both of these characters. Also, you'll notice that with Zaraki's outfit, it's all frayed at the edges, his captain's robe. Whereas you to look at Gen's, it's, nice and orderly. And, compare that over to Byakuya's outfit, which is just as much, and he even has this little scarf accoutrement there. So, kind of neat to see that from both of them. Also, looking at the hilts of their swords, Gen's got a more standard one, but Zaraki's is this kind of long, wrapped sort of blade, and we'll get to see a little bit more of their weapons eventually. Here he says it has nothing to do with you brothers, which obviously they're not brothers, not related. But I think the idea is that in this scene, it's like he's comparing them as if they were brothers, or perhaps even he's saying like comrades, right? My fellow captains. So it's another weird choice in translation. I think this chapter in general, with all the kind of dialogue with the Shinigami, has a bunch of really strange decisions about how to translate certain words. We get this insight from Zaraki, right? That, why should they be sad? She's a criminal. She's just dishonoring your family, right? And then we get this reminder that, of course, Kenpachi is this character who is a commoner, right? So he's not nobility like the Kuchiki family. So we're already getting these pretty distinct differences between these characters. We're getting a lot to define them against each other, and Byakuya is essentially the slate for which we can start to understand these other two captains, and then eventually more from there, right? We get a little bit of insight into Kenpachi, that he is this kind of bloodthirsty guy, that he's willing to just behead Rukia before even the execution begins. Byakuya, of course, insults his skill. They start to confront one another, and before that can happen, Kenpachi gets whisked away by Gen, who has him completely wrapped up and is kind of carrying him off in a kind of comical manner. And insists that, it wasn't his intention to revoke him and to give regards to the little sister. Which, as we know, Byakuya has already said that this is the last time that he'll see her. So, like, before the execution. So here we get really, Gen undermining a lot of what's going on with Byakuya, right? And even undermining, to a degree, Kenpachi's very serious, like, you want to test me, I'll fight you, moment where he just gets wrapped around and carried off by Gen. If anything, this kind of sells Gen as this sort of, like, very powerful. Obviously, they're all captains, so we get the sense of these characters being quite powerful. But the fact that Gen was able to so quickly frisk away Kenpachi, who seems like a rough, tough customer, maybe speaks a little bit towards Gen's expertise. We get this kind of close up of Gen as he says, to give regards to the little sister, and Byakuya looking away, having a moment of silence, and then turning to go about his way. So I think it all kind of works. It really speaks towards, again, that I think, that ultimately Byakuya has this sort of weighing on him in a way that he doesn't really want to express. And I think Gen realizes that and is willing to sort of bring that up, if anything, to make Byakuya doubt his convictions, maybe. But at the very least, Gin, you get the sense that Gin is the kind of person who is going to call somebody out on these things that they're hiding. So he's, as much as Kenpachi says that he's perceptive, I think it's really Gin who proves to be the most perceptive one in this scene. Notably, all these characters are pretty fan favorite characters. Gin, Kenpachi, and Byakuya are some of people's favorites. So it's surprising to see them all show up all in the same scene here as these three captains get introduced. Or, well, rather, these two captains get introduced, and we get to see, finally a scene of Byakuya interacting with some characters that we haven't seen yet before. Of course, back to the shattered shaft, and I love that we get this, Tessai kind of flapping up and climbing out with his shattered glasses. Of course, at least Tessai's in one piece. Luffy D Monkey is as well. You can find the whole gang there. Anyway, I like that Jeans is surprised that Tessai survived all of that, but I mean, it was by his own doing. We get this reminder of exactly what's happening as Kisuke is kind of running Ichigo down. I love that Ichigo's kind of on the defensive. Kisuke's literally like slicing boulders in half. And, they're sort of just running away as he chases him. I think that Ichigo has this realization that, like, look, I'm a Soul Reaper, right? The only thing that should be able to injure me is Zanpakuto, and hollows, right? That like if it's just a regular sword, it shouldn't hurt me. And so he turns to kind of face him, and then immediately gets cut as we get confirmation. Of course, I like that. Like he gets cut within the same space of the dialogue, right? And as we come down, we come to realize that that wasn't actually a cut that landed pretty deep. He's got this blood splurting out from him. There goes his mask. And here Kisuke explains like this close up of both his face and then to his sword as he says wake up, and then he calls the name of his sword Binahime, the Red Princess. Right? So it's awaken Binahime, or wake up Binahime. And we get the release for his sword. So just like Renji has his Zanpakuto Zabimaru that he was able to bring and call out to its name and awaken it essentially in Howl Zabimaru. Here we have Binahime's release. It's much more ornate, but you have to wonder, what it affords him, right? Because certainly, whenever Zabimaru transformed, it was able to do this big chainsword thing. But what's the purpose of this transformation here? Like, what is this going to afford him? It doesn't seem like it has any like clear benefits in its form. It looks like it's still just a sword, but maybe there's more going on to it. Nevertheless, it is cool that this is the next sword that we see revealed within the manga is here from Kisuke as he is training with Ichigo. Cool stuff. I like that we get this real close zoom up on Urahara's eye, and then this quick zoom out where we don't get to see his eyes at all. The focus is really on his sword. I think that works. We get Kubo's favorite, Doom. And that's it for the chapter. All in all, I think, yet another pretty strong chapter. Obviously, the focus of this chapter is really that conversation that is had with Rukia, and then that moment between Byakuya and the other captains. Big moment where we get introduced to those two other captains, and we get these first impressions that we have of them, where Kenpachi is like a person that's quick to kind of be drawn to conflict and is probably a violent sort of character, and that Gin seems to be, he's criticized as one of the only captains that, or one of the only Soul Reapers that's scared to die, and that he seems to be kind of more of a slippery sort of fella that he's quick, but he's also perceptive and willing to even call out Byakuya, which seems, like, why would he do that, right? So we have a little bit of interesting things going on there, and obviously the big moment here is the reveal that Urahara Kisuke, in fact, does have a Zanpakuto, which should lead us to believe, if everything so far hasn't been pointing towards it, from his design and his traditional Japanese kind of clothes, to the fact that his robes are very similar to a captain's robes, except, inverted in color, to the fact that he is, he knows all this stuff about Soul Society and has these connections to Soul Society, the fact that he can cast really, binding magic and Keto, right? If all of that hasn't hinted enough to you that maybe this guy is a Soul Reaper, or at the very least has learned these techniques, um, here he has his Zanpakuto and he knows its name and he can release it as well. So, pretty safe to say he has the powers of a Soul Reaper, ergo, he is a Soul Reaper. We still don't have hard confirmation that that's the case, but pretty much everything points to it, right? I think at this point, no one would begrudge you for calling Kisuke a Soul Reaper, or at least having that understanding that he is, or maybe he used to be one. Obviously, he doesn't work for the Soul Society, so you have to question exactly what his relationship is there, right? Because he certainly was on the side of Ichigo, and he's on the side of Rukia, so he clearly doesn't really follow their laws to a T. He's kind of smuggling things out of Soul Society. So you have to wonder exactly where he fits in all of this as we start to see even more and more of his connection to the Soul Society. Anyway, that's it for this chapter. Hopefully I landed on voices that people don't hate for these other characters. Like I said, they are fan favorite characters. I try to do my own take on them. I did watch the dub forever ago, but I'm really kind of, and I've watched the anime. I remember they give Gin kind of like a specific accent, like if it's Kansai or what, something like that. But it's been a long time. It's been quite a while. But I'm trying to present these characters the way that I see them. So my reading is going to be somewhere that I can land within my own vocal range, as well as what I am comfortable kind of reading the character as. Hopefully it lands well for you too, but let me know. I try not to get too absurd with character voices. Just kind of like I said, I focus more on coming somewhere within my usual range. So, I can definitely give insights into all of those if you are willing to kind of ask, or if you're interested in any of that. But maybe one day I'll do an episode where I talk about that more in depth. Who knows? For now, though, let's talk about spoilers, right? Let's talk about how this chapter connects to the rest of the Bleach manga, because there are certainly some connections to be made here. So, whenever we open up, we get. Oh, I didn't even talk about my favorite things about the chapter. That's okay; it comes across. I think I made it clear enough. I like every chapter, right? But solid enough. Anyway, back to spoilers. The big thing here is obviously it's come down from Central 46, this idea that in 25 days she's going to be executed. And maybe that's different from exactly, right? I'm trying to remember exactly where Ichigo is on his timeline too, because obviously the date of the execution does get pushed up, so it doesn't really matter in the big scheme of things. But the idea that this is from Central 46 and there's no going back on it is pretty huge. I don't remember if this is actually the last time that Byakuya talks to Rukia. I think that it ends up being that way, but I could be wrong. Nevertheless, pretty extreme moment from him, but you have to consider also Byakuya does have this weigh on him quite a bit, and ultimately he's kind of maybe see what he can do, but he's beholden to the law, right? And so that's kind of his tragedy, is that he owes everything to Soul Society, and that he's going to uphold Soul Society's laws, even if it would turn him against Rukia, who he has trouble facing because of her resemblance to her sister, whom he loved. Of course, Because it came from Central 46, it can't be turned over, which we know at this point is being controlled by Eisen. So, that's telling, right? That Central 46 is kind of, we're already getting this idea of them as being this infallible, or at least like, ultimate sort of decision maker, right? I like that she says that she knew this was going to happen from the beginning. Clearly, the only person who knew this was going to happen from the beginning was Kisuke, but this idea that she did have that sort of, expectation that was going to be the case. Anyway, sad Rukia. Of course, this idea of like, will you really allow this to happen? This ends up being really the seed for between really, I think, Renji seeing how much Ichigo resisted, and then him seeing how much it seems like you know Baiku is not resisting things. This really ends up being the seed that kind of drives Renji forward in the manga to eventually rebel and try to take down Katakuchiki and try to save Rukia himself. Of course, here we get this bit from Gin, right, where Gin is giving Baiku a hard time. I think Gin trying to kind of just incite conflict certainly fits. I mean, like that that certainly is in for his character. Um, I'm trying to think about I kind of surprising here is that I'm pretty sure Ninth Division is Tosin, right? Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Ninth Division is Tosin. So it's surprising that the here already the idea of like, oh, the Soul Reapers that are scared of dying are you and Tosin. Like, okay, Kenpachi, maybe you are perceptive. That you're calling out two of the people of the three that are going to betray, but as we come to find out, they both have their different reasons for betrayal of Soul Society, for standing alongside Eisen. Of course, Eisen doesn't get mentioned as someone who's scared of dying, but he ostensibly does die, right? Or fakes his death. Anyway, I really take this as Gin trying to get under Baikyu's skin, really trying to rile him up, maybe trying to even convince him to cause problems, basically stirring as much of the pot as he can, because Gin knows that everything's about to go pretty tits up whenever the execution comes. So he's sort of just getting ready for that moment. Um, of course, he insists that he is not trying to provoke him, but I believe that he is. Sure enough, Kenpachi is the one that ends up getting provoked. Um, Interestingly, their designs I think are pretty radically. I think Gin we get with way less rounded of a head, way more mature looking. He looks a little bit more like a teen or a child here, even. Um, but if we were to consider Kenpachi's look completely changes over the course of the series. How close his braids are together, how his hair gets drawn, his general kind of gauntness here compared to the way that he is depicted later. Uh, even within the next couple volumes, it changes a good bit. Gin's always a snake, but surprisingly, you know, Kenpachi is, I think, pretty vastly different. There's a few other early depictions of the captains that I think vary a whole lot. Certainly, what is it? Hitsugaya is one that I remember being pretty starkly different from early Bleach to later. But Kenpachi is a big one too. Anyway, I like that, of course, Bayakua calls out Kenpachi's skills despite the fact that he is literally the Kenpachi, like supposed to be the strongest Soul Reaper in all of Soul Society. But it's true because he's calling on his skills, right? He's not calling on his strength, and so at this point, Kenpachi isn't very skilled. He's just relying on his brute strength. He doesn't know his Shikai. He doesn't know, like, he hasn't been trained in like actual swordsmanship whatsoever because he's so just like such a brute strong character anyway, right? Of course, here with Gin pulling Kenpachi away and being able to kind of really quickly step here and detain him. Uh, the idea of him like not wanting to provoke and start a fight before everything kind of gets unraveled with Aizen, but kind of just stirring tensions, I think fits. Like once Aizen fakes his death, then everybody can start to be at each other's throats, right? Because that's what they wanted. They want chaos at that point. And then that allows them to kind of focus on just getting everything out of Rukia and maybe making as much chaos as possible within Soul Society so that they can't just rally against him. So that all fits. And I certainly see this, like the whole idea of giving regards to little sister and Byakuya's expression here, I definitely read as Gin like being very aware that Byakuya just went there to talk to her for the last time and give the report, and Gin being like, oh well, go talk to her again, huh? You know, so it's very much meant to be Gin being very aware of the situation and really putting some pressure on Byakuya and really kind of upsetting the scenario that he is in. I like that we get confirmation that Tessai's alright. I'm glad he could survive his own keto, kind of. Whew. Interestingly enough, this is, we do get to see the use of, I like that he's like, okay, well, the only thing that can hurt me, but I guess the idea is that it's not a physical sword or whatever, but a spiritual one, right? The only thing that should be able to cut his spiritual body. But I mean, Tensai used an axe and cut his soul chain, so I don't know, man. Anyway, of course, the reveal of him away, like using Benihime and obviously being a Soul Reaper, pretty significant. I don't know that I have much to say about Benihime's design and how it connects. Like the idea of it sort of being this ornate thing that has like these different like ties and bows and things to it. Maybe that speaks a little bit towards obviously the idea of Hime of the princess of the Crimson Princess, the Blood Red Princess, or whatever you want to call it. That it has this sort of ornate design that reflect that, but at the same time, it has all these different ways in which the thing itself has got these sort of additions and flair to it. Maybe speak towards this idea of reconfiguration. But I mean, it being a cane sword in its base form does enough of that anyway, right? So I don't know that how much its design really like expresses that as the rest does. But nevertheless, it is a cool Zanpakuto. I'm trying to think if there's really any other bigger connections that I want to draw here. I'm not so sure. Obviously, he wants to get Ichigo to manifest his sword to kind of essentially go into. Obviously, he gets Shikai and stays in kind of permanent Shikai, which is a bit odd, but unique to Ichigo, nevertheless. But yeah, you have to like wonder what Ichigo's non-release date is, and this is pretty much it because his Asuichi is this broken blade that he's not. This is as much as he's able to form with White from the beginning, and that's the whole point: is that he doesn't have a proper Zanpakuto. So whenever you like, a lot of people are like, oh, it's weird. Bleach, Ichigo is such like an outlier. His sword's this permanent Shikai. What's the deal with that? It's like that's the whole point, is that you're supposed to wonder what's the deal with that. Why does he have an incomplete Zenpakuto in its unreleased state? Why does he never go back to that unreleased state? What's the deal? What's going on with Ichigo? Clearly he's abnormal. Why is that? Let's consider the actual ramifications for this before it all gets spelled out in the 1,000-Year Blood War. Whew. Anyway, that's it for this one. I don't have that much else to say about it. I like this chapter. I think I made that clear enough. I think it does a lot of neat things. But let me know what you think about the chapter, and if you see any sort of other connections, if you see anything that you would like to talk about spoiler-wise, of course, let me know about that as well. Always tag your comments for spoilers if they have them that way. Just, make sure to write at the beginning of the comment that it has spoilers. As always, this has been Karakura Gold. I am reminding you that spirits are forever with you. Stay gold.